The starship crashed into the dense forest of Earth with a thunderous impact that echoed through the trees. Zaira was flung from the wreckage, her purple skin torn and battered. She lay motionless among the ferns and moss, her breathing shallow and labored. The toxic atmosphere of this alien world would slowly kill her without her protective gear, which had been damaged beyond repair. In the crash, Zaira belonged to the Noctari species, known across the galaxy as vampire aliens, due to their need to absorb energy directly from living beings. Her people were feared and misunderstood, rarely venturing to other worlds, especially not primitive planets like Earth. But her scientific mission had gone terribly wrong, and now she was stranded, dying, alone on a hostile planet. The mission was supposed to be simple: observe and collect data on Earth wildlife from orbit. But an unexpected meteor shower had damaged her ship, forcing her to attempt an emergency landing. The ship computers had malfunctioned during entry into the atmosphere, sending the vessel spiraling out of control until it smashed into the forest. The impact had destroyed most of her equipment and left her with serious injuries. 3 days passed. Zaira slipped in and out of consciousness, her body growing weaker with each passing hour. The forest creatures kept their distance, instinctively sensing the dangerous predator, even in her weakened state. She had accepted her fate to die on this strange world. When she heard the snapping of twigs and rustling of leaves, Kate Miller was hiking through the forest, enjoying a rare day off from her job at the local hospital. As a nurse, she had seen many strange things, but nothing prepared her for the sight of the purple-skinned woman lying among the ferns. Her medical training kicked in, immediately overriding any fear or shock. Kate approached cautiously, noticing the strange clothing and the unusual purple hue of the woman's skin. She knelt beside the injured creature, checking for a pulse, finding it weak but present. The alien opened her eyes, revealing glowing silver irises that seemed to pierce through Kate. Zaira hissed weakly, baring sharp fangs as she tried to back away. The human female had approached without fear, something Zaira had never experienced before. Usually other species ran from the Noctari or tried to kill them on sight. Kate raised her hands in a peaceful gesture. "I want to help you," she said softly. "I can see you're hurt." Zaira understood the language, having studied Earth communications during her mission, but she was shocked by the offer. The human should be running, not offering assistance. Yet the sincerity in the human's eyes was unmistakable. With great effort, Zaira tried to communicate using the human's language. "My people. We are called energy vampires by your kind," she warned. Her voice was raspy and strained. "I could harm you." Kate nodded slowly, processing this information. "Yet you haven't tried to attack me," she observed. "You need medical attention. Let me help you." Against her better judgment, Zaira allowed the human to approach. Kate gently examined her wounds, noting the strange bioluminescent blood that seeped from several gashes across the alien's body. "I need to get you somewhere safe," Kate said. "I'm going to help you stand." With considerable effort, Kate managed to help Zaira to her feet, supporting the alien's weight as they slowly made their way through the forest to Kate's cabin, a small isolated structure nestled among the trees. Kate had inherited it from her grandfather, preferring its solitude to the bustle of town life. Inside the cabin, Kate helped Zaira onto the bed, then gathered her medical supplies. Though she knew human medicine might not work on an alien, she had to try something. The alien was severely dehydrated and suffering from multiple lacerations. "I don't know if this will help, Zaira, but I need to clean these wounds," Kate explained, as she prepared antiseptic solution. Zaira watched the human work with fascination. No one had ever shown her such kindness, especially not a member of another species. The Noctari were reviled across the galaxy, feared for their ability to drain life energy. Without regular energy absorption, Zaira would die, but she could not bring herself to harm this kind human. Kate worked methodically, cleaning each wound with gentle hands. Despite the pain, Zaira remained still, studying the human with curious silver eyes. "You are not afraid of me?" the alien asked, her voice slightly stronger now. Kate paused her work, looking directly into those strange metallic eyes. "Should I be?" Zaira considered this. "Most beings fear the Noctari. She gestured weakly to her fangs and the small energy-absorbing glands visible on her palms. "We are predators to many species." Kate resumed her work applying bandages to the worst cuts. "Well, right now you're my patient. Not a predator. Just someone who needs help." The concept was foreign to Zaira. On her homeworld and throughout her travels, she had experienced nothing but fear and hostility from other species. The Noctari reputation as energy vampires preceded them everywhere, making peaceful contact almost impossible. Her own scientific team had been chosen for this mission precisely because they had developed techniques to minimize their energy consumption, allowing them to observe without interfering. After Kate finished bandaging the wounds, she helped Zaira drink some water. The alien accepted it gratefully, though she explained that water alone would not sustain her. "I require energy to heal," she said reluctantly. "Not just nutrients like your species." Kate frowned. "What kind of energy?" Zaira hesitated. "Life energy, the kind that flows through all living things. My people can absorb it directly." She looked away ashamed. "We try to take only from plants or animals, never sentient beings unless absolutely necessary. But in my weakened state." She did not finish the sentence, but Kate understood. The alien needed energy to survive and heal. Kate should have been frightened, but her compassion outweighed her fear. "How much energy would you need?" she asked. Zaira's eyes widened. "No, I will not feed on you. That is not why I told you." Kate sat on the edge of the bed. "I want to understand if you're going to stay here while you heal. I need to know what you require." The alien shook her head. "I would rather die than harm someone who has shown me kindness." This response only strengthened Kate's resolve to help the strange visitor. As night fell, she prepared a simple meal for herself and tried to make Zaira comfortable. The alien was growing weaker despite the medical attention. Her purple skin had taken on a grayish tinge, and her breathing was becoming more labored. Kate stayed by her side, through the night occasionally checking her bandages and offering water. Zaira drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes murmuring in her own language a musical series of sounds. Unlike anything Kate had ever heard, by morning Kate had made a decision. She gently shook Zaira awake. "You need energy," she said firmly. "Tell me how I can help without harming myself." Zaira tried to protest, but was too weak. Kate took the alien's hand and placed it against her arm. "I trust you," she said. "Show me how." "This works reluctantly." Zaira explained that with skin contact she could draw a small amount of energy enough to begin healing without causing Kate more than mild fatigue. It was a process the Noctari used only with explicit permission, and even then rarely with other sentient species. "Are you certain?" the alien asked, her voice barely audible. Kate nodded. "I help people heal. It's what I do." With trembling fingers, Zaira allowed the energy absorption glands on her palm to activate. They glowed with a soft blue light as she carefully drew the smallest amount of energy she could from the human. The effect was immediate but subtle. A hint of color returned to her skin and her breathing eased slightly. Kate felt a wave of tiredness wash over her, but nothing worse than after a long shift at the hospital. She smiled, seeing the immediate improvement in the alien. "That wasn't so bad," she said. "Was it enough?" Zaira shook her head. "It was the minimum I could take. I would need much more to heal completely, but I will not risk your health." Kate stood up a bit wobbly, but otherwise fine. "I need to rest," she said. "Then we can try again. Later I have some vacation days saved up anyway." Over the next few days they established a routine. Kate would allow Zaira to absorb small amounts of energy several times a day, never enough to cause more than mild fatigue. Between these sessions, Kate would rest, eat well, and regain her strength. While Zaira healed, they began to talk, exchanging information about their respective worlds and cultures. Zaira learned about human society through Kate's stories, while Kate discovered the vastness of the galaxy and the many species that inhabited it. The more they talked, the more they found common ground, despite their different biologies. "You said your people are feared?" Zaira, Kate said one evening as they sat by the fireplace. "But you've been nothing but respectful and careful, even when you were dying." Zaira sighed, her now bright silver eyes reflecting the dancing. Flame's history has not been kind to my species. In the early days of our space exploration, many Nocturi could not control their hunger. They took without asking, causing harm. She looked down at her hands now, mostly healed. We have evolved since then, developed strict protocols and ethics, but the reputation remains. Kate considered this. It's not so different from human history. She observed, we've done terrible things to each other based on fear and misunderstanding. Maybe that's universal. The alien looked up surprised by the comparison. She had expected judgment, not understanding. This human continued to defy all her expectations. Outside the cabin, night had fallen completely. The forest was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures. Somewhere, in the distance, an owl hooted. Its hunting call reminded Zaira of home of the similar nocturnal predators that soared above the forests of her world. Soon she would be strong enough to repair her emergency. A week had passed since Kate found Zaira in the forest. The alien was recovering steadily thanks to their energy-sharing arrangement. Kate had learned to recognize the signs when Zaira needed energy, and the Noctari had become skilled at taking only the smallest amount necessary, never enough to harm her human savior. Kate sat at her small kitchen table watching as Zaira examined the cabin with curious eyes. The alien moved with more confidence. Now her injuries mostly healed, her purple skin had regained its healthy glow, and the bioluminescent patterns that ran along her arms pulsed with steady rhythm. Your dwelling is interesting, Zaira said, running her fingers along the wooden walls. On my world we build with living materials that grow and adapt. This wood, it was once alive, but now it is static. Kate smiled, pouring herself a cup of coffee. My grandfather built this cabin by hand, she explained. He loved being surrounded by nature away from the city. Zaira nodded, understanding. The concept, it reminds me of our meditation chambers, places of reflection and peace. As they spoke, Kate noticed Zaira occasionally glancing toward the window in the direction where her ship had crashed. The alien had not mentioned returning to her people yet. But Kate knew it was inevitable. Zaira did not belong here on Earth, however comfortable their arrangement had become. Do you need to check on your ship? Kate asked, finally breaking the comfortable silence between them. Zaira turned, her silvery eyes focused and intense. Yes, the emergency beacon was damaged, but I believe I can repair it with the right tools. She hesitated. My people will be searching for me. They will not abandon one of their scientists. Kate felt a strange twinge of sadness at the thought of Zaira leaving, but she pushed it aside. Of course I should help you get home, she said, rising from her chair. We can go to the crash site tomorrow. I have some tools in the shed that might work. That night, as Kate slept, Zaira stood by the window gazing up at the stars. Her people would indeed be looking for her, but she had not told Kate the full truth. A Noctari rescue would mean scanning the planet. A primitive world like Earth was supposed to remain uncontacted according to galactic protocols. If her people discovered she had revealed herself to a human, they would consider it a serious breach of conduct. Even worse, they might see Kate as a security risk. The standard procedure would be memory modification to protect the secret of alien existence. Zaira shuddered at the thought of Kate's memories being erased, her kindness forgotten. Yet the alternative, staying on Earth indefinitely, was equally impossible. Zaira needed the energy chambers of her homeworld to survive. Long-term, without them, she would eventually need to feed more frequently, potentially harming Kate. The next morning they set off toward the crash site, Kate carrying a backpack with tools, water, and food. The forest was peaceful, birds singing in the canopy above, small animals scurrying through the underbrush. Zaira moved with natural grace, her body fully attuned to the forest environment, despite being alien to this world. The crash site looked different in daylight. The small scout ship was partially buried in earth and debris, its sleek silver hull cracked open like an egg. The surrounding trees were scorched, some broken from the impact. Kate stared in awe at the vessel, its design unlike anything humans had created. Is this your entire ship? She asked, approaching cautiously. It's smaller than I expected, Zaira nodded. This is a scientific scout vessel designed for observation and data collection, not for extended habitation. The main research ship remains in orbit around your outer planets. Kate froze. You mean there are more of your people nearby right now? The alien gestured upward. Far beyond your current detection capabilities, but yes, a team of 12 Nocturi scientists. She moved toward the ship, carefully navigating the debris. My disappearance will have caused concern. Inside the ship was a mess of tangled wires, shattered screens, and twisted metal. Zaira moved with purpose to a panel near what Kate assumed was the control center. Her long fingers worked deftly, removing the damaged panel to reveal a complex array of crystal-like structures and pulsing energy conduits. The beacon is intact but disconnected, Zaira explained, pointing to a small pyramidal device. It needs power to function. Kate watched fascinated as Zaira began reconnecting various components. This technology was centuries beyond human capability, yet she recognized the underlying principles. The alien was essentially rewiring a power source to the communications device. Can I help? Kate asked, eager to be useful despite her limited understanding of the technology. Zaira considered this, then nodded. You can hold these components in alignment while I fuse them, she said. Indicating several crystal-like objects, Kate carefully positioned her hands as instructed, feeling a slight vibration from the strange materials. As they worked, Zaira explained the basic principles of Noctari technology. It was energy-based, drawing power from ambient sources and amplifying it through crystalline structures. Unlike human technology, it contained few moving parts, relying instead on energy pathways and programmable matter. It would take 2 of your Earth days for a signal to reach my people, Zaira said as they completed the repairs. And another day for them to arrive. Kate nodded, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest. 3 more days with Zaira, and then the alien would return to her own kind. It was the right outcome, she reminded herself. Zaira belonged among her people, not stranded on Earth, no matter how much Kate had come to enjoy her company. The beacon activated with a soft humming sound. A small light at its tip began to pulse rhythmically. Zaira stepped back, satisfied. The signal is transmitting, she confirmed. Now we wait. They made their way back to the cabin as afternoon faded into evening. A comfortable routine had developed between them over the past week. Kate would prepare food for herself while Zaira absorbed ambient energy from the environment, supplemented by their controlled sharing sessions. They would talk for hours, Zaira curious about human culture, and Kate equally fascinated by stories of other worlds and species. That evening, however, both were quieter than usual. The impending separation weighed on their minds. Will you be punished? Kate asked, suddenly breaking the silence. For crashing on Earth, I mean. Zaira looked up from the book she had been examining. The crash was not my fault, so no. But there might be consequences for my interaction with you. She set the book aside, her expression serious. Our protocols prohibit contact with pre-spaceflight civilizations. Kate's eyes widened. But I saved your life. Surely they would understand that. The alien sighed. My people are cautious. Kate. Fear has shaped our interactions with other species for generations. Some will understand, others will see only risk. They may want to remove your memories of me. Remove my memories. Kate stood up, alarmed. They can do that. Zaira nodded regretfully. It is standard procedure when accidental contact occurs. She moved closer to Kate. I would argue against it, but the final decision would not be mine. The thought of forgetting Zaira was unbearable. Kate realized how important these days had been, how much she had learned about the universe and herself through their conversations. She did not want to return to a life of ignorance, believing humans were alone in the cosmos. There must be an alternative. Kate insisted. Zaira was silent for a long moment, then spoke, carefully. There is one possibility, she said, her voice was low, uncertain. The scientific team might accept you as a research subject, a formal first contact case study. It would mean documenting our interactions, but your memories would remain intact. Kate sat down, relief washing over her. I'd be willing to do that, she said quickly. The alien studied her with those penetrating silver eyes. Are you certain? It would mean scrutiny, questions, perhaps even tests. They would want to understand why you helped me instead of fearing me, because that's what humans do. Kate replied, or at least what we aspire to do. Help others who are suffering. Zaira smiled, a gesture she had learned from Kate. It transformed her alien features, making her seem almost human, despite the purple skin and glowing eyes. You are unique, Kate Miller, she said softly. Even among your own kind, I think. The next morning they returned to the crash site, Zaira wanting to retrieve scientific data from the ship's computers. Kate helped as best she could, following the aliens' instructions and handling the strange technology with care. As they worked, Zaira explained more about her mission to Earth. We were studying your planet's biodiversity, she said, downloading information from a damaged console. Earth has more varied life forms than most habitable planets we have discovered. The evolution of species here follows patterns that intrigue our biologists. Really, Kate asked. Surprised, I always thought alien planets would have more exotic life. Zaira shook her head. Most planets with life have fewer distinct species than Earth. Your world is unusually diverse, especially in your oceans. As she spoke, a small panel on the ship suddenly lit up, beeping softly. Zaira froze, her eyes widening. That is a proximity alert, she whispered. Kate looked around, seeing nothing but trees and underbrush. What does it mean? The alien moved quickly to the panel. They have received my signal and sent a probe to verify my location. It will arrive within the hour. She turned to Kate, her expression serious. You must decide now. If you wish to remain part of my report as a formal contact, you should stay. If you prefer to avoid scrutiny, you should return to your cabin. I will tell them I survived alone. Kate barely hesitated in staying, she said firmly. Zaira nodded, both relieved and concerned. You should know that the probe will scan you. It is standard procedure to assess potential threats. Dawn broke over the forest, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Kate stood on the cabin porch, clutching a mug of coffee, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Today, everything would change. She had barely slept, her mind racing with questions about what would happen when Zaira's people arrived. Inside the cabin, Zaira was preparing herself. She had cleaned her tattered uniform as best she could and arranged her long silver hair in a formal style Kate had learned was traditional for scientific presentations. The alien seemed nervous, smoothing non-existent wrinkles from her clothing and checking the small communication device salvaged from her ship air. You worried about their reaction? Kate asked. Returning inside, Zaira paused, her silver eyes meeting Kate's. Yes. Our protocols regarding unplanned contact are strict. She gestured to Kate. They will question why I revealed myself to you, why I accepted your help. Kate set down her mug, approaching the alien who had become her friend. I saved your life. Surely they will understand that. The Noctari made a sound somewhere between a sigh and a musical note. You must understand, Kate. Many species would rather die than help a Noctari. Our reputation precedes us throughout the galaxy. The fact that you approached me without fear, offered assistance without conditions, this is unprecedented. She touched Kate's arm gently. Some will see it as suspicious, others as miraculous. The touch sent a small shiver through Kate. Not unpleasant, but a reminder of the energy bond they had formed over the past days. Her body had grown accustomed to sharing energy with Zaira, creating a connection unlike anything she had experienced before. Will they take you away immediately? Kate asked, voicing the question that had troubled her most. Zaira nodded. That is standard procedure, but she added, seeing Kate's expression fall, I will request time to properly document our interaction. If accepted, that could mean several more days here. This small comfort lifted Kate's spirit slightly. She had known from the beginning that Zaira would eventually leave Earth, yet the prospect of saying goodbye so soon felt wrong somehow, incomplete. They spent the morning preparing. Zaira explained what to expect from the retrieval, their protocols and likely questions. Kate listened carefully, trying to memorize everything. The human felt strangely calm despite the momentous encounter ahead. Perhaps working as a nurse had prepared her for maintaining composure in extraordinary situations. Shortly after midday, Zaira's communication device activated, emitting a series of melodic tones. The alien responded quickly, her own language flowing like music. "They have entered Earth's atmosphere." She translated. "They ask that we return to the crash site for extraction." Kate nodded, gathering a small backpack with water and supplies. Zaira had warned her that the meeting might take hours. As they walked through the forest, Kate tried to commit everything to memory. The dappled sunlight, through the leaves the scent of pine, the sound of birds. The ordinary beauty of Earth seen through new eyes, knowing that aliens from across the galaxy were about to arrive. The crash site looked different. Somehow, the damaged scout ship seeming smaller, less significant now that a larger vessel was on its way. Zaira positioned herself near the wreckage, standing tall and formal. Kate remained slightly behind her, unsure of the proper protocol, but determined to make a good impression. The first sign of the approaching ship was silence. The forest creatures went quiet, birds ceasing their songs, insects falling still. Then came a low humming that Kate felt more than heard, vibrating through the ground beneath her feet. The air pressure changed, suddenly making her ears pop. "Look up," Zaira said softly. Kate tilted her head back and gasped. A ship had appeared directly above them, though she hadn't seen or heard it arrive. It was oval-shaped with a sleek metallic surface that seemed to shift colors, depending on the angle of the light. Much larger than Zaira's scout vessel, yet smaller than Kate had expected. Not the enormous mothership of human science fiction, but something more practical-sized, perhaps like a large yacht. 3 beings descended from the ship, floating down on platforms of light. Their appearance shocked Kate despite her mental preparation. They were clearly Noctari, like Zaira, with the same purple skin and silver eyes, but each looked distinctly different. One was much taller, with darker skin and elaborate markings along their arms. Another was shorter, with a more muscular build, and the third appeared older. Their skin paler, with a network of luminescent lines across their face. Zaira stepped forward, raising both hands, palms out in what Kate recognized as a formal greeting. The 3 visitors returned the gesture before the oldest one spoke. Zaira replied, her tone respectful but firm. They addressed Kate next, speaking in perfect English, though their voices had an unusual resonance, as if several people were speaking simultaneously. "I am Elder Scientist Lyra," the pale one said. "We are grateful for your assistance to our colleague. Your actions were unexpected but appreciated." Kate bowed, slightly unsure of the proper response. "Kate Miller," she said. "I did what anyone would do." The 3 Noctari exchanged glances, the taller one making a sound that might have been laughter. "Not anyone," Elder Lyra corrected. "Most beings would have fled or attacked upon seeing a Noctari, especially one in a weakened state. Your compassion is noteworthy." The muscular Noctari stepped forward, studying Kate with obvious curiosity. She permitted energy transfer. He said, his tone incredulous. The words were directed at Zaira, but his eyes remained fixed on Kate. Zaira nodded. "I took only what was freely offered and only the minimum required for survival." Elder Lyra moved closer to Kate, her pale eyes scanning the human with scientific interest. "May we examine you?" she asked. "Your biological response to energy transfer is of significant research value." Kate hesitated, glancing at Zaira, who gave a slight nod of encouragement. "What does that involve?" she asked. "A simple scan, nothing invasive." Elder Lyra assured her. "It will help us understand how your physiology adapted to sharing energy with Zaira." The elder held up a small device similar to the probe from the previous day. Kate agreed, standing still as the device hummed softly, emitting the same blue light that had scanned her before. The 3 visitors studied the results, speaking rapidly in their own language, their expressions shifting from surprise to fascination. "Remarkable," the muscular Noctari said. Switching back to English, her cellular regeneration rate increased by 15%. Her body adapted to the energy exchange, creating new pathways for recovery. Elder Lyra turned to Zaira. "Her genetic profile shows compatibility factors rarely seen in non-dominant species." She paused, as if choosing her next words. "Carefully. The Council will want a complete study." Zaira stepped closer to Kate protectively. She has already agreed to documentation, but she must not be removed from her environment. The taller Noctari spoke for the first time, his voice deeper than the others. This changes protocols. Scientist Zaira. The unexpected compatibility presents both opportunity and risk. The Science Council must be consulted. Kate felt a chill at his words. What does that mean exactly? She asked directly. Elder. Lyra answered, her voice gentle but firm. We must report this encounter to our governing body. They will determine the appropriate course of action. She gestured to the ship above. We have facilities on board for preliminary research. If you consent to further examination, Zaira. Interrupted Kate has aided me at personal risk, she said. She deserves honesty. Tell her what the council might decide. The three visitors exchanged glances again, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, Elder Lyra spoke. There are three likely outcomes, she explained. First, isolation and observation. You would remain on Earth but under study. Second, cultural exchange. You would serve as a representative of humanity in controlled interactions with our scientists. Third, memory modification. All knowledge of our existence would be removed. Kate felt her heart race at the third option, the one she feared most. I don't want to forget, she said firmly. I want to remember everything. The elder nodded. I will note your preference. The decision, however, rests with the council. She turned to the other Noctari. We should begin preliminary documentation immediately. What followed was hours of questions, scans, and recordings. Kate explained in detail how she had found Zaira, her decision to help, and their subsequent interactions. The Noctari recorded everything, their devices capturing not just her words but her vital signs, emotional responses, and energy patterns. Kate felt like a specimen under a microscope, but reminded herself that this was necessary if she wanted to maintain her memories of Zaira. As the sun began to set, Elder Lyra announced they had gathered sufficient initial data. We will return to our research vessel, she said. Our findings must be transmitted to the Science Council for evaluation. Zaira stepped forward, a determined expression on her face. I request permission to remain with Subject Kate until the Council's decision, she said formally. I am best positioned to continue documentation of this unique case. The three visitors conferred briefly before Elder Lyra nodded. Your request is granted. Scientist Zaira, your first-hand observations remain valuable. She turned to Kate. We will return in 3 cycles of your planet, approximately 3 days, with the Council's response. Kate felt relief wash over her. 3 more days with Zaira before anything was decided. The muscular Noctari handed Zaira several small devices explaining they were for continued research and monitoring. Then the 3 visitors ascended to their ship, which shimmered once before disappearing completely. Kate woke before sunrise, her sleep restless with anticipation. Today the Noctari would return with their decision. She found Zaira already awake, standing by the window, her tall form silhouetted against the pre-dawn light. The alien was perfectly, still only the soft pulsing of the bioluminescent patterns on her skin indicating she was alive at all. Today they come, Zaira said without turning. Her voice was solemn, almost sad. Kate moved to stand beside her. Yes, she agreed. What do you think they will decide? Zaira turned, her silver eyes reflecting the growing light outside. I have reviewed all data transmitted to the Council. The evidence of your compatibility with our energy transfer process is compelling. She hesitated, but rare cases often inspire caution rather than opportunity. They prepared for the meeting in silence. Kate choosing her clothes, carefully settling on simple, practical attire that still looked presentable. Zaira arranged her monitoring devices and prepared her final report packets of data that glowed with soft blue light. She wore her formal uniform, now repaired and cleaned its dark fabric, contrasting with her purple skin as the first rays of sunlight broke over the trees. They made their way to the clearing, where Zaira's ship had crashed. The morning was beautiful, birds singing, dew sparkling on spiderwebs strung between branches. Kate tried to appreciate these details, knowing this might be her last day of normal life. Regardless of the council's decision, they did not wait long. The familiar silence fell over the forest as the Nuktari research vessel arrived. This time it became fully visible, hovering above the clearing, its oval shape gleaming in the morning light. A platform of light descended carrying, not 3 but 5, Nuktari visitors. Kate recognized Elder Lyra and the 2 scientists from before. They were joined by 2 new figures. One wore elaborate robes with intricate patterns that glowed and shifted constantly. The other was dressed in a uniform similar to Zaira's but with additional insignia, and carried themselves with unmistakable authority. Zaira straightened her posture, her expression becoming formal as the platform touched the ground. She performed the traditional greeting, which the visitors returned. Kate followed her example, raising her hands palms outward. The robed figure stepped forward, regarding Kate with intense silver eyes. "I am Council Elder Vex," she announced, her voice deep and melodious. "We have reviewed all data concerning your interaction with scientist Zaira." Her gaze shifted between Kate and Zaira. "The Science Council has reached a decision." Kate felt her heart racing but kept her expression calm, determined to show the same courage that had led her to help Zaira in the first place. Elder Vex continued, "Your case is unprecedented, Human Kate Miller. You not only assisted a Nuktari in distress, but your physiology demonstrated remarkable adaptation to energy transfer. This suggests possibilities previously unconsidered in our understanding of interspecies compatibility." The uniformed Nuktari stepped forward. "I am Fleet Commander Terran," he said, his voice sharp and precise. "Security protocols would typically mandate memory modification and immediate withdrawal from this planet." He paused, studying Kate's reaction. "However, your unique physiological response and scientist Zaira's detailed documentation have presented us with an alternative, Elder." Lyra moved closer, her expression gentler than the others. "The Council proposes a cultural exchange program," she explained. "You would serve as our first official human contact. An ambassador of sorts under controlled conditions." Kate glanced at Zaira, who gave an almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. "What exactly would that involve?" she asked Elder. Vex gestured, and a holographic display appeared between them, showing various images that Kate recognized as medical facilities, laboratories, and what appeared to be living quarters. "Initial observation in our orbital research facility," she explained. "You would undergo comprehensive testing to better understand your adaptation to energy transfer. This would be followed by cultural orientation and diplomatic training." "And then," Kate prompted. "Commander," Terran answered. "If deemed suitable, you would return to Earth as our designated contact person." He gestured to the forest around them. "You would continue your normal life but serve as our point of communication with humanity. Should your species advance sufficiently for formal contact." Kate considered this proposal. It was more than she had hoped for. Not only would she retain her memories, but she would become part of something extraordinary, a bridge between worlds. However, she had practical concerns. "How long would I be away from Earth?" she asked. "And my job, my home?" "Your absence would be temporary," Elder Lyra assured her. "Our estimate is 3 lunar cycles of your planet, approximately 3 months." She gestured to the cabin. "We can arrange for your dwelling to be maintained and your employment status preserved." 3 months, Kate thought. That was a significant commitment, but not impossible. She had accumulated vacation time and could request a leave of absence for medical reasons if necessary. "The opportunity was too important to refuse. Before I decide," Kate said, "I need to speak with Zaira privately." The council members exchanged glances before Elder Vex nodded. "You may have a moment," she said. Stepping back with the others, Kate led Zaira a short distance away into the trees. "Do you think I should accept?" she asked once they were out of earshot. Zaira considered the question carefully. "It is an unprecedented honor," she said, "but also a significant responsibility. You would be the first human to experience our world." Kate nodded, understanding the weight of the decision. "Is it safe?" "The testing they mentioned." The alien hesitated. "I would ensure your well-being," Zaira promised. "Our methods are advanced, but I understand your concern." She placed a hand gently on Kate's arm. Their offer is genuine, Kate. They recognize something unique in you, something that could change how our species interact. Kate felt the familiar warmth of energy connection where Zaira's hand touched her skin, the eye. Past days had created a bond between them, something that transcended their biological differences. If accepting this offer meant maintaining that connection, learning more about the universe beyond Earth, how could she refuse? They returned to the waiting council members. Kate's decision made. I accept your proposal, she said formally. I will serve as your contact person and participate in your exchange program. Elder. Vex nodded with approval. Excellent. The commander made a gesture, and the research vessel above them hummed louder. We shall depart immediately. Kate hadn't expected to leave so soon. Wait, she said. I need to prepare. Gather my things. Elder Lyra stepped forward. Your essential needs will be provided, she assured Kate. However, if there are personal items of significance, you may collect them. We can transport to your dwelling before departure. Kate quickly listed the important things she would need to bring: medications, personal identification documents, photographs, a few items of clothing. She was grateful for the chance to gather these belongings, but the reality of her decision was sinking in. She was about to leave Earth. The journey to Kate's cabin was brief. The Noctari vessel moved silently through the forest, hovering above the trees. Once there, Kate quickly packed a small bag with her most important possessions. She looked around the cabin, memorizing every detail before closing the door behind her. Back at the clearing, preparations were underway. Commander Terran was issuing instructions to the other Noctari while Zaira stood slightly apart, watching Kate approach. Are you ready? The alien asked softly. As ready as I can be, Kate replied, clutching her bag. Elder Vex activated a device on her wrist, and a larger platform of light appeared beside them. This will transport us to the research vessel, she explained. Step onto it when you are prepared. Kate took a deep breath, looking around at the forest one last time. Then she stepped onto the platform, followed by Zaira and the council members. The light beneath their feet brightened, and Kate felt a strange weightlessness as they began to rise. The sensation of ascending through the air was both terrifying and exhilarating. Kate watched as the trees grew smaller below them. The morning sunlight caught in dewdrops, creating thousands of tiny rainbows, a farewell gift from Earth. Then they passed through an opening in the vessel, and the forest disappeared from view. Inside, the research ship was unlike anything Kate could have imagined. The walls seemed alive with flowing patterns of light and color. The air was slightly cooler than Earth normal and carried a faint scent like ozone after a thunderstorm. Several more Noctari moved about the vessel, their silver eyes turning curiously toward Kate as she arrived. Elder Lyra guided Kate through curved corridors, explaining the basic layout of the ship. Medical facilities, engineering quarters, communication stations. Everything was designed with elegant efficiency, no wasted space or unnecessary ornamentation. You will reside here during our journey, the elder explained as they reached a doorway that slid open silently. The room beyond was simple but comfortable, with what appeared to be a bed, a seating area, and various panels that presumably controlled environmental settings. How long until we reach your research facility? Kate asked. Setting down her bag, Commander Terran answered from the doorway. 3 of your Earth days. We must maintain specific velocity parameters to avoid detection by your planets. Primitive tracking systems. Kate bristled slightly at the description of human technology as primitive, but reminded herself that from their perspective, it was an accurate assessment. 3 months had passed since Kate left Earth. The time aboard the Harmony research station had transformed her in ways she could never have anticipated. She had undergone countless tests, examinations, and energy transfer experiments, each procedure carefully documented by the Noctari scientists who were still amazed by her unique physiological response. Kate stood at the observation deck, watching Saturn rotate slowly below the station. Its magnificent rings glittered in the distant sunlight, creating a view that still took her breath away even after all this time. She had learned so much about the Noctari, their culture, history, and technology. She now understood basic phrases in their musical language and had adapted to their daily rhythm. Zyra joined her at the viewport, standing close enough that Kate could feel the subtle energy field that surrounded all Noctari. "You are contemplative today," the alien observed. Kate smiled, glancing at her friend. "I was thinking about Earth," she admitted. "Tomorrow we return." Zyra nodded, her silver eyes reflecting the starlight. "Are you prepared for your role?" During her time at the station, Kate had been trained as an official contact person, the first human authorized to know about alien existence and act as a discreet intermediary. The Council had decided that humanity was not yet ready for full disclosure, but that having a trusted representative on Earth would benefit both species, I think. "So," Kate replied, "I understand the protocols and communication methods." She touched the small crystal implant behind her ear, invisible to human detection, but allowing secure communication with the Noctari monitoring team. The agreement was clear. She would return to her normal life as a nurse, but would also gather information about human society and report any technological developments that might indicate readiness for contact. Zyra placed a hand on Kate's shoulder, the formal gesture of respect that had become common between them. "You have exceeded all expectations," she said. "Our scientists never anticipated such successful integration. The energy compatibility you demonstrated has changed many minds." Kate had indeed surprised them all. Not only had her body adapted to Noctari energy transfer, but she had developed limited abilities to control the exchange, taking or giving small amounts of energy at will. This unprecedented development had caused excitement among the researchers and concern among some council members. Elder Vex approached them, her elaborate robe swirling with patterns that reflected her elevated mood. "The preparations for your return are complete," she announced. "All medical evaluations confirm your health is optimal, and the memory adjustments for your absence have been implemented." The Noctari had arranged for Kate's 3-month absence to be explained as a special medical research program. Her job was secure, her cabin maintained, and no one on Earth would question where she had been or why. "What about the energy regulation?" Kate asked. The aspect that still concerned her most was controlling her new abilities. When among humans, Elder Lyra joined them holding a small device. "The regulator will stabilize your energy field," she explained, preventing unconscious absorption or emission. "It can be deactivated when necessary." She handed Kate what looked like a simple bracelet made of intertwined silver and crystal strands. Kate slipped it onto her wrist, feeling the immediate effect as her energy field settled into a stable pattern. The bracelet appeared to be ordinary jewelry, nothing that would raise suspicion on Earth. Commander Terran was the last to arrive, his formal uniform indicating the importance of this final briefing. "The transport vessel is prepared," he stated. "We will depart at the next cycle. Your landing has been calculated to avoid detection." Kate nodded, understanding the precision required for her return to Earth. The Noctari were taking no chances, maintaining their long tradition of non-interference with developing worlds. Her unique position as an authorized contact was an exception to their protocols, one that had been extensively debated by the Council. The small group moved through the station toward the docking bay. Kate had grown accustomed to the curved corridors, the living walls that adjusted to ambient conditions, the subtle hum of advanced technology. Other Noctari they passed offered the formal greeting gestures, some adding the special acknowledgement reserved for honored guests. Kate returned each greeting, having mastered the proper responses. In the docking bay, a vessel smaller than the research ship, but larger than Zyra's original scout craft, waited, its sleek design optimized for atmospheric entry without detection. Kate recognized several of the scientists who had worked with her during her stay. They had gathered to witness her departure. Before boarding, Elder Vex performed the formal farewell ceremony, placing her hands on Kate's shoulders and touching her forehead briefly to Kate's. "You carry our trust, human Kate Miller," she intoned. "Remember your oaths. Observe, but do not interfere. Report, but do not reveal." She stepped back, her expression solemn but warm. "You return to your world changed, but your path remains your own, Commander." Terran was more direct, his military bearing never softening. The communication protocols are absolute. He reminded her, priority alerts for any technological leaps, security concerns, or potential discovery events. He gestured to the crystal behind her ear. The link is secure but must be activated away from electronic surveillance. Kate acknowledged his instructions, understanding the responsibilities she was accepting. She turned to Elder Lyra, who had overseen her medical training. The elder handed her a small case containing specialized medical supplies. In an emergency, only, she cautioned, these compounds will not be developed on Earth for at least a century. Finally, Kate faced Zaira, the alien who had changed everything. They had grown close during these months, forming a bond that transcended species. Their energy compatibility had created a connection deeper than friendship, yet difficult to define by human standards. "Will I see you again?" Kate asked, unable to hide the emotion in her voice. Zaira nodded. "I have been assigned as your primary contact," she revealed. "The Council believes our established energy synchronization makes communication more efficient." She hesitated, then added more softly, "I requested the assignment." Relief and joy filled Kate. Knowing Zaira would remain connected to her made the return to Earth less daunting. It meant their story would continue. They boarded the transport vessel, Kate taking a final look at the research station before the airlock sealed. Behind her, the Noctari crew prepared for departure, each movement precise and efficient. Commander Terran himself would oversee her return, ensuring no detection by Earth systems. The journey back was shorter than their original travel, using a more direct route now that secrecy protocols had been adjusted to accommodate Kate's special status. Kate spent much of the time reviewing her training and preparing mentally for reintegration to human society. Zaira remained by her side, explaining final details. "Your energy signature has been cataloged," she said. "All monitoring systems will recognize you, preventing accidental identification as an anomaly." Kate touched the crystal implant, reassuring herself of its presence. "Will it be strange," she asked, "returning to a world that knows nothing of all this?" She gestured to the stars visible through the viewport, to the advanced technology surrounding them, to Zaira herself. The alien considered this question carefully. "You have always lived in two worlds," Zaira observed. "Even before we met. You move between the everyday concerns of humans and the profound moments of birth and death in your work as a healer." She touched Kate's hand gently. "This is simply a third world to navigate." The observation was insightful. Kate realized she had indeed always lived at the intersection of ordinary life and extraordinary moments. Perhaps that was why she had accepted this new reality with relative ease. As Earth came into view, a beautiful blue sphere against the blackness of space, Kate felt both excitement and apprehension. She was returning home, but not as the same person who had left, physically altered with new abilities, knowledge, and responsibilities. She would walk among humans as something slightly more and different than she had been before. The vessel entered Earth's atmosphere under cover of night, using technology that rendered it invisible to radar and satellite tracking. The landing site had been carefully selected, the same forest clearing where Zaira's ship had crashed, where everything had begun. As the vessel touched down, Kate gathered her few belongings, including the small bag she had originally packed 3 months ago, now supplemented with hidden Noctari technology disguised as ordinary items. The airlock opened, revealing the familiar forest now bathed in moonlight. The scent of pine and earth filled her lungs, a welcome change from the filtered air of the station. Commander Terran performed a final security scan, ensuring no human observers were present. Then he nodded to Kate. "The mission parameters are established," he said. "All monitoring systems are active." "Elder." Lyra embraced Kate briefly. "May your path bring wisdom to both our peoples," she said. Then it was time for the hardest goodbye. Kate turned to Zaira, who stood tall and proud in the doorway of the vessel. "I will miss you," Kate said simply. Zaira touched her forehead to Kate's in the formal gesture of closest connection. "Until our next meeting," she replied. Her silver eyes glowed in the darkness. "Call when you need me." "I will hear." Kate stepped away from the vessel, feeling the cool forest air against her skin, the soft earth beneath her feet. She watched as the transport rose, silently into the night sky, shimmering once before disappearing completely.